Jeff Stacy was caught during the To Catch a Predator sting of Greenville, Ohio. He was 27 years old at the time and believed that he was talking to a 15-year-old female. Over the course of this video, I'll review Stacy's chat log, his interview with Chris Hansen, and the subsequent police interrogation that followed. I'd like you to keep in mind that the information that is available to us is just a small window into Jeff's life. A window that I will be using to speculate on what may have been going on with him at the time of this incident. The commentary that I provide on this situation is for entertainment purposes. It's a way for me to share my perspective on a criminal subject that has interested me for some time now. Be warned, the content of this video is verbally graphic. Viewer discretion is highly advised. Jeff starts out with a compliment, saying hello gorgeous. A troubling start indeed, but can be given a pass as he has not yet discovered her age. The decoy quickly asks him for his details, and Jeff lies, saying that he's 21. When he finds out that she is 15, it prompts him to ask if she likes older guys. This is generally where the grooming begins, but pay attention as Jeff skips a few gears and goes from first to fourth without warning. Jeff provides a picture to the decoy for her to evaluate his cuteness, and I would like to point out that he actually did not send a picture of himself. Instead, it is documented that he sent a picture of an attractive, well-built younger man. The decoy mentions that she thinks he's cute, and Jeff now abruptly turns up the heat, wanting to know if she'd like to get him naked. This is what I refer to in regards to his lack of grooming. Majority of predators will shower the girl in compliments at this stage, ask a lot of questions, and probe around for a while to see if sexual dialogue could be possible. Jeff does not do this. He launches straight into it, and one can only speculate why. A little back and forth leads Jeff to ask what she would do with him if she got him naked. Innocently and humorously enough, the decoy responds with, "Stare at you? I don't know. What would you want me to do?" And from this point on, Jeff is just a machine that spits out sexual question after sexual question. Would you ride or suck me? You a virgin? You going to sleep naked? And the completely unprovoked, do you swallow? The decoy gracefully chooses not to answer this last question, and the two soon say their goodnights. Jeff fires the conversation back up the next day at around 11 AM by asking how she is, and the decoy lets him know that she's bored home alone as her mother is out of town. Like a true gentleman, Jeff graciously makes the offer that she can alleviate her boredom by sucking on his penis. If you want to, I would let you. It's as though I'm witnessing two AI programs talking to each other, one bot designed to elicit sex, while the other is programmed to be agreeably distant to any incoming input. I don't have a car. I could always pick you up and we'll do it in the car. My house is empty till Sunday, so I could just come over. Yeah, if you want. What would we do if I come over? Well, that's what you said you wanted to do. What? You would suck me off? Yeah. Jeff seems to be pretty lost in his own little fantasy world, and the decoy recognizes this as well. She attempts to bring him back to reality by offering him some sort of chance to show that he is a human. Is your pussy tight? I think it is. Would you like me to eat you? Yeah. Hey, this is gonna sound stupid, but what's your name even? I didn't even ask you, laugh out loud. Jeff. What is yours? Sadie. Do you like to be eaten? Yeah. The decoy bringing light to the fact that they don't yet know each other's names should be a key moment. A moment where one would think Jeff would stop and look at the situation. That does not happen here. He does not drop a beat at all. He answers the question as quickly and bluntly as possible, then turns the conversation straight back to sex. It's as though the decoy's question was nothing but a small mosquito bite on the grand scheme of the body which is his sexual plans. A little bump that drew his attention for a fleeting moment but quickly went away. As the conversation moves along, Jeff asks the decoy to answer the door naked, and be warned if you're reading along. This part of the chat gets pretty grisly. She says that she doesn't want to answer the door nude because it's cold, and she might get sick, and instead they agree that she'll be naked in her room for when he arrives. She'll leave the door open for him to come in. Jeff clarifies that he will get straight to performing oral sex upon entrance, and quickly escalates this to filling a certain part of her body with a certain part of his. This is then followed by a bit more predatory chatter, and watch now as the fantasy for Jeff begins to shift to reality, as details of the potential meetup are discussed in a more solid manner. The decoy says that he can come over in about an hour's time, as she needs to take a shower, and Jeff would like her to remain naked after the shower. When she agrees to this, he actually decides that he would like her to take her clothes off right now. I really don't know what he's doing here. It seems to me that he is a total mess. He wants her to get naked now for the shower, and then he would like her to stay naked after the shower, even though that it's cold. He barely knows her name. He doesn't even have her address. It's really difficult to decipher what his brain is doing at this point. Usually there's a level of coherence to the predator's disgusting chats, but not with Jeff. He fires off whatever he's thinking in that moment, and there's zero filter. I find that reading this part of the log resembles the mind of a child. A young child who doesn't really know what they want, but they want everything. My 3-year-old nephew, for example, does things that resemble this behavior all the time. He will be tired and want to go to bed, but he'll also want to play with his toy trains. Then immediately he'll stop and he'll want to play with his toy cars. Then he'll get cranky that he's not in bed. It's the same thing here with Jeff. It's just unfortunate that that immature level of not realizing what one actually wants has transitioned to a sexually deviant place as Jeff has grown into a man. All he knows is that he wants sex, and it would seem that he's really never talked to a female about this stuff before. Like he's never got this far, no one's ever agreed to talk to him in this extent. And now that someone has, here he is, and he doesn't really know what to say. Answer the door naked. No, okay, be naked in your room. Okay, no, get naked now. Oh no, after your shower, get naked. I'll be there in an hour. Make sure you stay naked. What's your address? What's your name? He is a total mess. This chat is a glimpse into the mind of someone who is so lost inside the fantasy world of his sexually deviant imagination, yet has no idea what to do with it. Call me desensitized to these chats, but I infrequently cringe at what the predators say anymore. I've read enough of these now that it really has to touch a sensitive nerve to raise one of my eyebrows. That doesn't mean that I don't find the logs abhorrent. Quite the opposite. It's just that I enter them with a baseline of what sort of disgusting content that will be present. So most of the things these guys say now, it repulses me, that's for sure, but it doesn't shock me like it used to. So I do find it rather intriguing to read a log like this, where it has managed to raise one of my eyebrows. The reason being is that grooming for child abuse is a premeditated behavior. It is something that an individual will be aware of what they're doing whilst they're doing it to some degree. Be they a situational offender, someone who offends based on circumstance, or a preferential one, someone who seeks children. The behavior to lure their victim is always emotional. Some are far better at it than others, as we've seen over my videos. Clemente, for example, with his countless I love yous, would sit on one end of the spectrum, and Palumbo with a few compliments here and there on the other. And although their styles differ, they do all fall on the same scale somewhere. But Jeff does not. Jeff doesn't fall on any scale. He gives us nothing other than a bombardment of sexual questions. It has really thrown me and got me scratching my head. Is he a child predator? Is he a horny imbecile? Is he both? Does he lack personality, or is he hiding his personality? What is this man? Disgusting, no doubt about it, but what is the mechanism that drives him? He's hidden it well due to his sheer lack of personality on display. Or is there nothing to hide? It's impossible for me to tell, and these questions that I just posed cycle around and around my mind with each word that I read. He doesn't compliment her, he doesn't try to get to know her, or explain all of the nice things they can do together. He doesn't try to relate to her, he doesn't try to look interesting beyond presenting the false image of himself. He doesn't joke or laugh or promise. Hell, he doesn't even probe too much for information regarding who she lives with. Where's her father? Does she have siblings? His self-preservation function is as lacking as his conveyed personality. I'm gonna have to move on from this one, because this enigma presents more and more questions the more I ponder. As the two converse a little more, they verify that Jeff will be coming that night, but it will be later on around midnight. Jeff then shares another photo with her without her asking, and it's now a picture of his face. This time, the real image of his face. The decoy straight away alerts him that she's aware that he looks different from the photo he shared earlier. Jeff fumbles around with his words a little as he tries to explain why that may be, and the decoy intuitively soothes him by saying that he's still cute. After narrowly avoiding what could have been a potentially awkward end to this planned date, as it would be pretty reasonable to assume that having a lie such as this exposed would lead to distrust, and distrust would mean no meetup. Jeff gets his head straight back into the game and once again wants to know if she'll be naked when they meet up. He's really exhibiting a strong grasp of what's an appropriate thing to say after a rather awkward moment, that's for sure. The two then discuss logistics of the meetup a bit more. Jeff on multiple occasions lets her know that he would like to perform oral sex on her, and at one point asks if she's a cop. She says that she's not, and says that she'd be willing to chat with him on the phone so that he can verify that she's not some fat old cop. Jeff doesn't want to do this though, as he says he trusts her, just like he thinks that she trusts him. And so that brings us to the end of the chat log. Oh, actually, 1 second, before it ends. In true predatory fashion, as so many others before him have, Jeff goes out with a bang. He wants to know if she has performed a certain act before. Do you do anal? Never have before. Do you like it? I don't know, never done it. Oh, we could try. Yeah. Does it hurt though? Don't know. He's just asked someone who is identified as a minor, someone who has more than likely had very limited sexual experience, if any, if they do a particular sex act, an act that would be classed as outside the social norm of what is performed during intercourse. Hey, call me out if I'm wrong, as I'm certain there are many people in support of this act, but I think one would be hard-pressed to find a woman who's really keen to perform this on their first date. So it's grossly obnoxious, in my opinion, on Jeff's part to ask this, and it really exposes to me not only how socially inept he is when it comes to conversing with women, but it also says to me that he's probably watched a bit too much pornography in his time. Pornography normalizes some acts that are not too common in the everyday bedroom, and for a male who is not experienced in the sexual department, who doesn't have many female friends around them to discuss intimate matters, and who gains all of their knowledge of what a woman wants sexually from pornographic content, then it would be easy for that man to assume that hardcore acts like this are an accurate depiction of how sex should go. This would be the only part of the chat log that I say has really revealed something about his personality. Everything else so far has been alluding to it, but here we have it for what it is. I know some of you may be watching this and thinking, oh come on Dave, get it together. It was clear all along that this is what Jeff is. But I would argue not. I like to approach these chat logs as though I've never watched the To Catch a Predator program before. I like to treat these words that were written as though I were the decoy speaking to this unknown entity for the first time. Sure, he could be a bumbling porn-obsessed idiot, or he could also be a cunning and intelligent hunter, one who knows not to give anything away and is setting as many traps as he can to see who bites. It wasn't until the very end here that I could confidently put my opinion onto one side of the table and say, yep, there it is. He is that porn-obsessed idiot. So with all of that said and done, the date has been set and Stacy makes his way over to the Sting house.
What are the pink bags again? What am I asking for?
You there? I'm gonna go up and get ready, okay?
Okay.
Wait at the bar for like 5 minutes and then follow me up, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Could you do me a favor and just have a seat right over there on the other side of the bar?
Okay.
How's it going?
All right.
Let's bring that back and take a closer look at his entrance.
I'm gonna go up and get ready, okay?
Okay.
My initial observation here would be how little there is to observe. Much like Stacy's chat log, his outward demeanor is devoid of personality. Let's compare him to some other predators we've looked at, such as Cody Green with his bouncy excitement. Alonzo Wade was like a drunken older uncle who still thought he's hip, fumbling his way into a party that he's far too old for. Palumbo was just oozing with character. Urban, the shifty-eyed addict who looks as though he's on a drug deal. And even Jerry Griffith, who staunches nervously towards the house. And then here we have Jeff Stacy. His movements are not slow, nor are they fast. He's awkward and fumbles, but he observes the area in a calculated manner. Upon his entrance, he scans the room like some sort of buggy Terminator that's analyzing its surroundings, making sure everything is in order as it runs through some simple replies. Emotionless, empty. Is he lost? Is he in the right place? This does not look like a man who is expecting someone to be naked when they answer the door.
Could you do me a favor and just have a seat right over there on the other side of the bar?
Okay.
How's it going?
All right.
Did you find a place to park okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's have a seat. What's your plan for tonight?
Nothing really.
Nothing really.
Mm-mm.
Who'd you come here to meet?
Some girl.
Some girl whose name is what?
What's her name?
You can't even remember her
It's
name.
Amanda, I believe.
Amanda? Sadie, maybe?
Thought it was Amanda.
Yeah. And how old is this girl you came here to meet?
I believe she's 18.
18?
Mm-hmm.
And what made you think she was 18?
Because I thought she said she was 18.
Not only is this man bland in his mannerisms, but also his lies. It would appear that he has forgotten her name, but I would confidently say that he has not forgotten her age. When asked what makes him think that she's 18, he responds with, "Because I thought she was 18. So let's take a look at that. People who utilize deception frequently all operate it with different styles. There's an array of techniques and mental gymnastics that they deploy to manipulate the truth, to bend the situation into their favor. And although the mechanism behind the operation of these techniques remains the same, the outward deployment of that deceit is always unique to the person, especially in the face of getting caught. If someone is to lie often, it's only natural that eventually someone will uncover what they've lied about. And when this happens, all deceptionists will handle that in a range of ways. It's a highly sensitive moment and could be akin to backing a wild animal into a corner. Some animals will fight and others will flail as they try to escape. Some play dead and others recluse into a shell or even just faint as their mind attempts to prevent them from feeling their last moments. This same thing is what happens to liars when they're backed against the wall. Some people lash out with aggression and accuse the accuser of being stupid, wrong, or downright disrespectful for challenging them, and others will turn that aggression towards themselves, exhibiting frustration over and over to deflect some heat. Some people cry and try to gain sympathy. They try to convey a relatable struggle in an attempt to avoid trouble, and others just buckle down. They retract into their mental shell and not let anything in or out, no matter how damning the evidence being presented to them is. I believe the lyrics from a Shaggy song, "Wasn't Me," display this phenomena rather well. Not giving anything away allows the person to slam on the brakes, which won't push them any further down the hole, but doing so requires them to sit confidently in their lie. Sure, they're not going to make any progress, as they're not going to get away with it, but they're also not going to get pushed any further down the terrifying hole that is the truth. All they need to do is hide in this shell of lies until the attacker gets bored and moves along. In an everyday scenario, this is a highly effective technique for a liar to use, as most cases of uncovered deception do not come with hard proof like the transcript that Hansen holds. And with all that being said, this is what our friend Jeff here is trying to do. Why did you think she was 18? Because I thought she was 18. The only option here for Hansen is to move on or get caught in a never-ending loop of the same question.
You want to try again?
That's what I thought.
But that's not what she told you, is it?
I don't know.
Well, you can say that.
Okay.
But I have the transcript of the conversation.
Okay.
And right up top, she says she's 15.
Okay.
How old are you?
21.
21. And why did you think it was appropriate or legal to come here to meet a 15-year-old girl home alone?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
You got to have a better answer than that.
I didn't think she was 15.
But that's not what it says here in the transcript of the chat. I've read the whole thing, so you might as well just tell me.
I don't know. I really don't know. I thought she was 18.
I think this would be a good spot to address the voice. The famous Jeff Stacy voice is about to make an appearance in its full form, and before it does so, I'd like to talk about it for a moment. Have a listen to a few clips of him speaking to Hansen.
I don't know. I really don't know. I thought she was 18. I don't remember. Probably last night.
And now compare that to when he first walked through the door.
Okay.
There could be a number of reasons for why the pitch of his voice is lower when he walked in. He could have been very nervous, trying to make a little as an entrance scene as possible in this unknown house. Or he could be trying to mask the true nature of his high-pitched tones, something that he may very well be self-conscious about. If this is the case, it would fall in line with his action of showing the decoy a false image of himself. He showed her a picture of a hunk of a man, and now he enters with his doughy physique. The last thing he wants to do is compound that disconnect by revealing his shaky, high-pitched voice, and being the butt of yet another joke. I say that because if this is in fact his voice, I imagine he would have been the source of much ridicule in school. Believe me, I know this firsthand. When I was in school, going back 30 odd years now, the taunts from children about my bowl haircut still haunt me to this day. Although children need to be protected, they can be damn savages themselves sometimes, especially if someone is a little bit out of the ordinary. A strange voice like this would be a hunting season for a pack of unruly kids. But hey, in regards to his voice in this clip, maybe when he entered, the low pitch is more what he sounds like, and the pressure of the interview with Hansen caused it to become more shaky and to raise in line with his rising anxiety. I've even read multiple people online who claim that Stacy was sick at the time of filming, and the illness caused his voice to transform into this croaky, high-pitched thing. We could speculate and discuss for hours as to what could be going on here with Jeff's voice. And ultimately, we will get nowhere. We will never be able to confirm what Jeff's voice actually sounds like on an everyday basis. We'll never know if he was sick, or masking a voice that he's insecure about, or just having a bad voice day. Since starting these videos, I know all too well the reality of a bad voice day. But all jokes and speculation aside, I just couldn't get through the entire Jeff Stacy video without passing comment on that recognizable voice. Let's get back to it, hey?
What's that say right there? What number is that?
15.
15, okay. Go ahead, sir.
I don't remember.
But isn't that a little convenient that all of a sudden you're sitting here talking to me and you don't remember?
No, it happened probably last night.
A whole 24 hours ago.
So?
A lifetime. Where did you come from tonight?
Lebanon.
I'm sorry?
Lebanon.
Say it again?
Lebanon.
And where's that?
Cincy.
In Cincinnati. How far did you drive?
I don't know, maybe an hour.
An hour. And what's your name?
Jeff.
Jeff, what's your last name?
Stacy.
Stacy. And what do you do for a living, Jeff?
Work at a deli.
You work at a deli. And do you often chat with underage girls online?
Oh.
No.
Mm-mm.
So this is your first time?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I hear that a lot.
I would say, yeah, you probably do, but this is.
This is what?
This is the first time I've ever met anybody offline.
Now, it seems like you're having some memory trouble tonight, so I'm going to remind you of some of the things you said in the conversation. You ask her if she's a virgin.
If one could present a video to define the word uneventful, it would be the last minute or so that's just elapsed of this interview. Watching Hansen try to get answers out of Jeff is like watching someone attempt to squeeze blood from a stone. Jeff is like a little turtle hunkered away in its shell, trying to ride out the big storm. And Hansen, being fully aware at this point that he's getting nowhere, needs to kick it up a gear, so he reads a few lines from the chat log.
I ask everybody all kinds of stuff. It's just talk.
Do you sleep naked?
What's wrong with asking questions?
Well, some of the questions are pretty graphic. You gonna be naked when I show up?
If we just got a video definition of uneventful, that image right there is the representation of smug.
Legs spread and I will blank you right away.
Okay, so I said that stuff.
Then you say, oh, you're not a cop, are you? Why did you ask if she was a cop?
Because I had people who were drug friends, and they say that if you ask that they have to tell you.
You have people who are what?
I used to have friends that were druggies, and that's what they said.
Druggies. So the druggies told you that if you asked over the internet if there are police, they have to tell you.
Yeah.
So that's what you did.
Mm-hmm.
And why were you worried that it might have been a police officer?
I ask everybody.
Just out of habit?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it indicate that you're worried that if it was a police officer, you could get in trouble for what you were doing?
No, because I ask that to everybody.
To everybody. So you spend your time on the internet at night asking people whether or not they're cops, whether or not they sleep naked, whether or not you can perform sex acts on them. Mm-hmm. You do this all the time.
It's talking.
Talking. Yeah, but the difference tonight, Jeff, is that you went from talking to showing up at this house where you thought a teenage girl was home alone. An underage girl.
I didn't know.
You didn't know what?
That she was underage.
Do you want to go through the exercise again where we talk about what age is right here in the chat?
No, because I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't remember seeing the age.
Then why were you so worried about whether or not this was a police setup?
Because I asked that to everyone.
Let's look back over that exchange.
You have people who are what?
I used to have friends that were druggies, and that's what they said.
Druggies. So the druggies told you that if you asked over the internet if there are police, they have to tell you.
Yeah.
If we're taking what he says here about his druggy friends as being true, then it paints Jeff as a very ill-informed individual. I get that people who engage in criminal activity may have more intimate knowledge of how the law operates, but one would need to be so very naive to take the word of these people and use it as a safety net, as they are not criminal lawyers, and the law is a wily beast. When I try to sense where Jeff's mind may be at, this moment plays a key role as it shows his ability to monitor and evaluate his own thoughts is below average. I have taken into consideration that he's in a high-pressure situation, which makes these functions far more difficult, but still, I can't ignore the ridiculous nature of what he's saying, no matter how much pressure he's under. And between you and me, I would be inclined to say that he doesn't feel the full weight of the pressure Hansen is placing on him due to his belief that he's done nothing wrong yet, and an all-round general lack of self-awareness. His confidence in his innocence, based on his druggy friend's word, can only be one of two things: true or false. If true, he has foolishly believed the words of people who gave him legal advice, despite not being trained in the legal system. If false, he is utilizing this as a form of deflective defense, with a little to no self-awareness of how ridiculous he sounds. It just shows a very poor level of self and situational awareness.
So that's what you did. And why were you worried that it might have been a police officer?
I ask everybody.
Just out of habit?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it indicate that you're worried that if it was a police officer, you could get in trouble for what you were doing?
No, because I asked that to everybody.
To everybody.
Asking everybody if they're police actually got a bit of a chuckle out of me. I picture Jeff sitting around after visiting his druggy friends, smoking a joint and chatting to people online. Then all of a sudden the night shifts and he gets paranoid about his high. He begins thinking that the person or people he's speaking with could possibly be law enforcement, which in turn leads him to begin asking them all this question. Just in case, you know? Gotta make sure you have all those bases covered, hey?
So you spend your time on the internet at night asking people whether or not they're cops, whether or not they sleep naked, whether or not you can perform sex acts on them. You do this all the time.
It's talking.
Talking. Yeah, but the difference tonight, Jeff, is that you went from talking to showing up at this house where you thought a teenage girl was home alone. An underage girl.
I didn't know
You didn't know what?
that she was underage.
Do you want to go through the exercise again where we talk about what age is right here in the chat?
No, because I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't remember seeing the age.
Then why were you so worried about whether or not this was a police setup?
Because I asked that to everyone.
Coming up now, there's quite the long pause before Hansen says another word. It's not often that we see Chris need to pause like this, as usually he's the boss here. He's the one who rattles these men, and I would assume to a degree that he procures some form of satisfaction from doing so. Whether it makes him feel powerful, or he just likes serving out his own flavor of justice before the police do, that's only for Hansen to know. But I do think that it's safe to say that he enjoys it somewhat. And because of this, I think that he is the one who is a little rattled in this moment, as Jeff's total shell defense in conjunction with his bare bones chat log has really thrown him for a loop. By this stage, Chris would usually have them against the ropes, arguing, lying, squirming, and squealing in an animated fashion to try proclaim their innocence. But not Stacy. Sure, his voice is elevated here and there, but he's not giving Chris that visceral response that he, and probably the NBC ratings executives want. My question is, how is it that Hansen can rattle someone like Jerry Griffith, someone who took an almost identical approach to his interview, and not be able to rattle Stacy here? Before exploring this question, I would like to preface it by saying, I believe Jeff is lying wholeheartedly. I think he knew exactly who he was coming to meet, and that he would have harmed a child had one been willing on the night. So keep that in mind, as what I'm about to say may seem like some sort of an attempt to excuse his behavior, but trust me, it is not. It's more so a look as to why Hansen is having difficulty. During Jeff's chat, there are only 3 instances that I can find where he acknowledges her age. In the beginning, when she says she is 15, he asks does she like older guys, and a few lines later, he asks if she is a virgin, and then later near the end of the chat, he asks if she's a cop. One could say that those instances are him acknowledging her age, but he does so in a very elusive manner, and that now allows him to easily argue that he thought he read 18, and Chris doesn't really have any evidence to prove otherwise. What I mean by that is in other predatory conversations, there's a clear expression that they want a younger person, and Jeff doesn't do this at all. It would appear that he is a situational offender of the highest degree. I assume that his preference is not a minor, but more so anyone who he can have a crack at. He likely trolls the online chat rooms looking for sex, and doesn't really have a pre-specified target. Young, old, whoever will give him a chance, he'll take it. Does that make him innocent? No, it doesn't. He still set out to harm a child on this night, but does it make it easy for Hansen to get him to squirm with his own chat log? No, it also doesn't. Hansen can stand there and rattle off line after disgusting line that Stacy spouted, but at the end of it all, Stacy can and will always bring it back to the fact that he claims he thought she said 18. Hansen operates superbly when he has a proper transcript to work with. With Stacy's one here, he's working with only half of his tools.
You ask her if she's horny.
What's wrong with that?
If you ask if she does anal.
It's a question.
I know, but you're asking a question to somebody who identified themselves as an underage girl. And in this state, depending on the circumstances, that is against the law. Do you get that?
It's against the law to say it on there.
It's against the law to solicit an underage girl for sex. Yes.
That's not what if that's what it was, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Two things of importance just occurred. The first is Hansen has managed to put a crack in Jeff's shell. And the second is a far more pressing matter. The way Chris elongates that word you.
If you ask...
That's gotta be a world record.
You ask if she does anal.
It's a question.
It sure is, Jeff. It really, really is a question. I'll let Hansen take it on this one.
I know, but you're asking a question to somebody who identified themselves as an underage girl. And in this state, depending on the circumstances, that is against the law. Do you get that?
The revelation that Stacy has already committed a crime with his online conversation has now made him aware that he is defending an already broken castle, and so his walls begin to come down.
It's against the law to say it on there.
It's against the law to solicit an underage girl for sex. Yes.
That's not what if that's what it was, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Up to this point, Jeff has been pretty confident in his defense, because I would say that he believed no crime has been committed. Revealing to Jeff that his online conversation was indeed illegal has put him into a difficult spot, and he needs to make a decision. He needs to either acknowledge that his intentions were wrong and then begin to pick up the humiliating pieces, or continue to defend what he now knows was illegal activity, and the way we see Stacy handle it is very diplomatic. He says, "If that's what it was, I'm sorry, I didn't know." He acknowledges that he could be in the wrong without explicitly stating that he is aware he's in the wrong. Well played, Jeff. Whether he knew what he was doing or this is all just dumb luck is arguable, but nonetheless, well played.
You also sent this picture of yourself.
Yes, I know.
That's you. And then you sent these pictures too.
Yeah,
Who are they? What's all that?
just phony pictures.
Just phony pictures. Well, how come you cut the heads off?
I didn't. I just found them that way.
And you were trying to make believe that was you, or what was the purpose of that?
I don't know. It's just talk. If I'm not really ever... I mean, it's nothing.
Doesn't seem to fit there.
I know it doesn't.
So what were you trying to do with all this?
Nothing.
What were you going to do if you had showed up here and a girl was here and I was not? What would have happened?
Probably a whole lot of nothing.
I don't doubt that for a second there.
A whole lot of nothing.
Maybe a kiss or two, but probably wouldn't go farther.
Did you bring condoms with you tonight?
No, didn't plan on it. Didn't plan on doing that.
Did you bring alcohol in your car?
No.
You're sure?
Yeah. Yeah, check my car. I don't care. There's no alcohol in my car.
But after all this sex talk,
It's just talk to me.
all this graphic chat, did you expect us to believe that you had no plan
Nope, I didn't.
of having sex with this girl?
No, really, I didn't. Didn't bring alcohol. I didn't bring drugs. I didn't do any of that.
Jeff's blunt chat log worked in his favor for most of this interview, but now it works against him. All he talked about was sex. There was not a single mention of anything else, so you have to assume that that's why he came. If Jeff's intentions were pure like he claims, wouldn't it make sense for an innocent person to say, hey, yep, I totally screwed up here. I misread the log. I was in a pretty horny state of mind. I thought the girl was overage. Chatted about sex for ages and then now I came. I'm really sorry, I screwed up. That line of defense would be what I imagine an innocent person would say. But instead, Stacy denies everything all the way. Why would one deny what they believe to be legal activity? Hansen also cottons on to this discrepancy and hones in for the kill.
Yeah, but what you're saying now conflicts with what you said online.
It's online, though.
So you just made it all up. All play, all chat. The difference is, Jeff, you showed up.
I didn't know it was wrong to show
And
up.
that shows intent to follow up on what you talked about over the interview.
I didn't know that was... I wasn't intending to do it. It's just talk to me.
Just talk. Do you do this all the time on the internet?
Sometimes, yeah.
Are you addicted to the internet?
No,
How often do you talk on it?
I don't know. Every day, maybe.
Every day.
It's just talking. I don't see the internet and real life are two different things.
The disconnect that people feel about their online lives and their in-person lives seems to be a common occurrence these days. An occurrence that becomes ever more present as humanity ventures further and further into the realms of how far we can push technology, artificial intelligence, and online connectivity. This disconnect affects people in many different ways. For example, sometimes people say mean and hurtful things in comment sections to each other as they can hide behind the veil of anonymity, things that they would never say to the person face to face. In a more positive example though, some people may be able to express themselves online, where they may not be able to do so in front of people. Musicians, artists, and actors, or even just connecting with a fellow human socially, may feel easier behind the safety of the screen, a layer of separation that rests between them and their fears. And having that barrier up allows the user to let their personality or talents shine through. This idea I speak of is what I opine we witness here with Jeff, but to a more deviant degree. And be warned, heavy speculation coming up. I would say that Jeff utilizes an online persona to connect sexually with people, something he is not able to do in his everyday in-person life. On this night, he obliviously followed his sexual fantasy to a point where it collided quickly and unexpectedly with his reality. So quickly, in fact, that he didn't really know how to respond. 1 second, Jeff was online, disconnected from his physical self as he became connected with his online persona. That persona being Jeff, the attractive, sex-crazed monster. And this person had begun to run its usual algorithm. He found someone to speak to online, sent them a false photo of an attractive male, then begun discussing sex acts. Having not been immediately rejected like I imagine he regularly is, he became highly aroused that this person offered him the opposite of what he's used to. They tolerated his sexual dialogue and even welcomed him into their house. He didn't know what to do. Like a mosquito to a bug zapper, he bumbled penis first towards the light, paying no mind to the fact that his actions could be illegal. Hell, paying no mind to the fact that he didn't even really know her name. In Jeff's delusional little world, the internet is not real. It was his online persona that was saying those things, not him. And this online persona set the scene up for it all to happen. It whispered in his ear and told him about it, and it was too good an opportunity for him to pass up, so he decided to go along and investigate. He was just going to go to the house, and who knows what would have happened. Probably not sex, he's aware of that, but also maybe sex. This person on the other end did seem keen, and so here he is. He is probably so disassociated from reality when he's online that he may truly believe his actions cannot draw criticism, as they don't fully belong to him. The line is so blurred between the two that he made his way to the house and didn't even really know what he was going to do when he arrived. Sure, he knew why he wanted to be there, and I don't doubt for a second that he would have jumped at the chance if there really was a consenting child in the place, but inside his own little mind, he took zero responsibility for the actions that led him to this location.
What says on the internet doesn't mean that's what I really think.
Well, that would be easier to believe, Jeff, if you didn't show up here tonight, where you thought a young girl was home alone.
No, I really didn't. Well, I knew she was alone.
Why would you be here?
I mean, I knew she was alone, but That doesn't mean much to me.
You're an adult, she's a child.
Okay.
There are laws protecting children.
Okay.
Do you get that?
Yes.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
Do you get why teen girls at a certain age cannot give consent legally?
Yes.
He had to really think about that one, didn't he?
Okay. So you understand why there's a problem here?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think should happen to you?
I really don't know.
Why don't you help me out here?
I mean, I'm sorry if all this happened. I'm sorry all this. It's really a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding.
I really did not intend on anything, really. Maybe meet to her, talk to her.
But come on. You know what you said.
I do know what I said on there. But that's what I'm saying. It's just talk to me.
Jeff, do you ever watch television?
Sometimes.
You ever watch Dateline NBC?
No.
I'm Chris Hansen, and I'm a reporter for Dateline NBC. And we're doing a story on adults who try to meet teens on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything else you'd like to tell us, we'd like to hear it.
Nope.
If not, you're obviously free to walk out that door.
This would normally be the point of the video where I summarize my thoughts on Jeff's situation as a whole, but in this instance, Stacy has a whole bunch of extra footage surrounding this incident, so let's take a quick look over that, hey?
Sheriff's office, get your hands up, get on the ground!
Please kill me.
I'm going to read you your rights. If you have any questions, you tell me, okay?
Can I just be shot?
You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand that?
Yes.
State your full name, please.
Jeffrey Douglas Stacy.
Last name again?
Stacy.
Stacy. S-T-A-C-Y.
Yes.
Did you know how old the person was you were coming to visit?
I guess not.
You didn't?
I didn't pay attention.
You didn't pay attention. So you have no idea how old she is?
I thought she was 18.
You thought she was 18?
Mm-hmm.
So when she told you she was 15, you just ignored it.
It's just talking.
It's just talking. Do you understand what kind of trouble you're in here tonight?
Yes.
Tell me what kind of trouble you're in.
Probably jail.
No, what did you do wrong?
I showed up to solicit a minor.
For what?
I guess sex.
Sex. What was your plans tonight when you arrived with this 15-year-old girl?
Just to talk.
Well, that's not what your log reflects.
I know, but it's an internet. I just say whatever comes to mind on the internet.
Quite the one-track imagination you've got there, hey Jeff. If I were given free reign to say whatever comes to my mind to a random person at any given time on the internet, we'd likely end up in some strange location where I'm singing a song about eating tacos on a Tuesday, whilst a rabbit that's sitting under a tree watches me and ponders questions of existential proportions. But hey, that's just me. Maybe Jeff doesn't think about those sorts of things. Sex all the way.
You said whatever comes to mind. So would you like to me off? Just came to your mind?
Mm-hmm.
You say that to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
You chat with?
Mm-hmm.
Men and women?
Mm-hmm.
Adults?
Mm-hmm.
So you had no intention of having sex with this girl?
I'm going in now.
Is that what you're saying?
No.
I'm going in now, Kevin.
But you just said you came to that house to solicit the 15-year-old for sex, did you not? Did you just say that?
That's what they told me I was doing when I walked.
I asked you what you were doing at the house.
I was just coming to meet, and what happens, happens. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, so there was a possibility that could have happened.
Could have.
Could have. If the opportunity would have arose, she would have been there, and no one else had been home. That could have happened then.
Yeah, someone could have been home too.
Okay. Your Your transcript of your chat log indicates you asked a lot of sexual questions and stuff like that.
Okay.
You agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Also, in the transcript, she shows or tells you she's 15, and you say, "Do you like older guys?" So you had to read that she was 15 to type to her, "Oh, do you like older guys?" Is that true? Would you say that was true?
I guess so.
There is an inner conflict that plays out within me as I watch this interrogation. One part of me enjoys it, and the other does not. What I enjoy is how the detective is taking a stern, but not angry approach. He is firm, but not dismissive in his line of questioning. It's highly satisfying to watch as he presents facts while asking pertinent questions. Questions that I myself would have liked to ask Stacy had I ever had the chance. The detective doesn't get caught up in his lies either. He just presents a fact, asks a question, then listens to Stacy's answer before moving on to the next one. Whilst this is happening, it's very unnerving to observe the small back and forth rocking movements Stacy is doing to self-soothe. Generally, people only do this when in really dire circumstances, and as a viewer watching this play out, it triggers something very primal in the emotional spectrum of my existence. All of my logic cannot stop the emotions from elevating as I watch him rock. It's like witnessing someone who is dying after being hit by a truck. It doesn't matter who that person is or what they did. I just find it plain unpleasant to watch.
You go on to say, "Would you like to get me naked?" Do you remember typing that?
Yeah, but that's just normal things.
Then she says to you, "You mean for real?" And you could go, "Yeah, it could be fun." You remember typing that?
Yeah.
Then you say to her, "Would you ride?" Or do you remember typing that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? You got any questions for us, Jeff?
What's going to happen to me?
You're going to be taken to Dark County Jail.
Please, God.
You're going to be charged with attempted and unlawful sexual conduct with a minor. Okay? It's a felony 5.
Please don't. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm not a child molester.
Well, evidently you were going to molest a child because everything indicates that. You understand? She said she was 15, and you knew she was 15. You went to the house to solicit sex with a 15-year-old. Did you
I
know?
did not know.
Right here it is. You had to know.
Oh, I don't pay attention.
That doesn't get it, okay?
I really didn't know that she was 15.
That doesn't float, all right?
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
You got a phone number on?
Now, what's your home phone number, Jim?
I was going to kill myself.
We can work this out, all right?
No, I really am just going to slit my f***ing throat.
You relax, all right?
No, I'm just going to kill myself. Put me in jail and I'll hang myself. I don't care.
Heavy mode.
I'm just going to shoot myself.
Hang
Kill
on,
myself.
one more I call in the TCAP I don't have back yet.
Now I did something horrible and I'm just going to kill myself.
Well, you don't want to do that.
Yes, I am. As soon as I'm out of jail, I'm going to kill myself. Split my throat. Put it on TV. I don't care because I'll die before it hits the air. I don't even care anymore. I did something so wrong that I don't even want to be alive. I'm just going to kill myself.
Hot?
Kill myself.
No, you won't.
Yes, I am.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will.
This is a bit of a sensitive subject with me for a few reasons, and I'm sure it will be a sensitive subject for many of you viewing as well. I've known 2 people, one who has taken his own life and another that came very close. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but what struck me about them both was that I missed all of the signs before it happened. I lead a busy life, and I missed these signs due to me not paying enough close attention to them, and it was some time before I came to a place where I stopped blaming myself, where I stopped feeling responsibility for not being a better person, not doing more when I had the chance. As I said, it is a sensitive subject, and one that I don't really want to explore in this video. What I will say though, is in my opinion, if one is using this harrowing subject as a mechanism for attention or evasion of trouble, then they are pretty low, as that is a dark hole of manipulative human behavior. That person would be drawing on a pain that many others have not been able to endure to somehow get what they want. It's disrespectful for not only the people who have passed away, but for the ones who are left wondering if it was their fault. If the struggle is real for a person, then please absolutely reach out any way you can. Without hesitation, seek help. I know it is difficult, but there is help out there, and I believe that there is always light on the other side of the struggle, even if you cannot see it right now. Do not suffer in silence. But if one is not suicidal and is in fact using it as a form of manipulation to serve their own personal gain, then stop that immediately and seek help another way. That is not the way to go about it. With all of that being said, this now brings me to what upsets me about the scene with Jeff. I believe Jeff is not suicidal, and we'll see proof of that as he feigns a very weak attempt at ending his life in just a moment. And so this right here is the most clear-cut example of how immature, selfish, idiotic, and plain manipulative Jeff can be at this point in his life. One could argue that this is the only way he can express the inner pain he is feeling towards his situation, that he recognizes how poor his actions were, and in his ill-informed, mentally lacking state, only knows how to express the magnitude of his emotional distress as suicidal ideation. But I would disagree with that and say that right now, Jeff is just an idiot of an astronomical scale, an idiot who was making such poor decisions that he himself became highly dangerous, as the behavior that led him here could have eventually led him to harming a child was he not stopped. And now that he's caught, he's being disrespectful to the officers around him as he immaturely takes the sensitive subject of self-harm and tries to manipulate them with it.
Doesn't matter, I want to kill myself. I want to kill myself and watch myself die. Because you know what, it's not worth it. Death. That's all I have. That's all I need. That's all I want. Let me kill myself. Put a bullet right in my head. Put a bullet right in my head.
To all long-time viewers of this program, you know what's coming up. The biggest unanswered mystery of all To Catch a Predator time is about to present itself. The many keys of Jeff Stacy.
Can you tell me again why you got so many keys?
What does it matter? I'm going to be dead by tomorrow.
I think there is, Johnny.
What is it?
Hang myself, something.
This dialogue of the officers doing their job around him whilst he proclaims that he'd like to die goes on for quite some time.
Hand behind you.
What just happened? I mean, I know I did have that big tangent about how upsetting this subject is to me, but come on. I've seen some ridiculous things over the years, but that was... Don't get into method acting, Jeff. You're not cut out for it, hey?
You better behave, alright?
Just kill me.
You got about 5 minutes, right?
And so that's Jeff Stacy, hey? The internet is a strange phenomenon within the history of the human race. It's a hub for consciousness where we can essentially leave our physical bodies behind and become whoever or whatever we want. The possibilities are near endless and ever growing with each new technological advancement. Unfortunately though, some people take this limitless playground and abuse it. Jeff Stacy left his physical body behind, one that he is not confident with, and he transformed into what he thought females would find physically appealing. He would speak to them via text, a format where his unusual voice can't work against him, and within this realm of confidence, he would ask anyone that he wants for sex. Based on the level of charisma we saw him exhibit in his attempts to solicit sex, I would say his level of success would have been next to none. And so this situation of him going up and meeting up with someone, I opine, is an anomaly in his life. A rare moment where his fantasy world collided so unexpectedly with his reality, and he just rolled with the punches. I would say that Jeff does not usually find himself attracted to children, but is stupid and horny enough to try solicit sex from one if the opportunity presented itself. And the opportunity did present itself. His capability for critical thinking, self-awareness, and reasoning I'd say is very low, and my evidence to back this up is a look at regular child grooming behavior. When a predator is grooming a victim, they are utilizing every mental resource they have to accomplish their task. They would need to do so because the situation is high pressure. They would be aware that what they're doing is wrong, so at every turn they would be watching their words, counting their steps, trying to find the balance between satisfying their desire and not getting caught. It's It's a haunting reality. A lot of these men will apply every bit of charm, charisma, and personality into their words to try sway the situation into their favor. And as adults, they usually have a pretty good chance against kids when doing this. In the past, we've seen examples of chat logs where this is very present. Chuck Harding realized that the person he spoke to would not be a pushover, so then he shifted his technique into a more loving grandfather-mentor role. Cody Green, who utilized humor and boyish charm to get on the same level as the victim. Even, dare I say it, Jerry Griffith, who would try to romance the young girl in ways that he would haphazardly romance a person of his own age. Palumbo there expressed concerns about driving to convey to the child that he's doing a lot to come over. Small psychological cues all aimed to wear their victims down. Without yet hearing or seeing their faces, we can feel through these predators' words what their personality is going to be like, long before they arrive. And going by those standards, I guess my musings there are accurate, as Jeff showed no character in the chat log and then none in person. He showed no signs that he is attracted to minors preferentially, but situationally, he would have no problem molesting one. In my personal opinion, Jeff is an empty shell of a person, a shell that he hides in when the going gets tough. He doesn't have these things that work together to build a personality like so many others do. For what reason, I will not get stuck on that, as that would cause for far too much speculation, which is saying quite a lot, as we're already very far down the speculative rabbit hole here. Not having the common traits of an external personality doesn't mean that I think he has no interests or hobbies, or isn't able to experience life on a level that goes beneath the surface. It's just that when it comes to expressing himself, especially via words, I would say he has a large amount of difficulty doing so, and unfortunately in this world, that can lead to difficulty finding one's place in it. Difficulties that could wind him up disassociating from who he is, to recluse into an online fantasy world, and difficulties that could lead him to making one of the biggest mistakes of his entire life, as he bumbled his way into a situation that could have caused major damage to a young child. And so that's it. That's Jeff. A man with a lot of questions and a whole lot more keys. An empty man looking for sex. End of story. After the sting operation, Jeff pleaded not guilty and his case would go to trial. This trial would find him guilty, and he served 6 months in prison. Upon release, Stacy was required to attend sex offender counseling and would be registered for 10 years in the Ohio State Sex Offender Registry. Not much is known about what happened to Jeff after the sting. I dug up some info that he was married in 2018, and in 2019 a picture of him emerged as a kung fu teacher in a Cincinnati martial arts school. About 2 days after the photo surfaced, he was removed from the website, and it's thought that someone reached out to them, alerting the school to his past, which resulted in them letting go of him. At this point in time, Jeff was no longer on the sex offender registry, so although an eyebrow or two could raise about him being around children like this, no law was broken. Jeff was not convicted of any offences relating to children in his life following the To Catch a Predator sting. About halfway through making this video, I learned that Jeff had actually passed away recently in February 2021. The post-mortem examination found morphine, diazepam, and alprazolam intoxication, and the coroner's opinion of the cause of death on this report was the intoxication of those drugs, in conjunction with his obesity at 262 pounds and cardiovascular disease that all contributed to his death.
Walked into my office on a stormy night, and my God, his slacks were tight. He looked at me and he had said it all. Cigarette bound